everybody. Thank you, Megan, for that lovely introduction. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that I am standing in Yukon country on the beautiful Gold Coast, part of Spaceship Earth. And I would like to acknowledge their many ancestors, including those from this land, but also those ancestors that have supported my life and the capacity for me to be here with you today. You'll hear about at least one of those in my talk. And I would also like to take the time to deeply acknowledge all of those humans past and present who have been exploited, extracted from, colonized by any form of human endeavor. And it's these people that inspire me every single day to keep the work I'm doing going. And finally, I would like to look towards the future, because my belief is that if we can either get caught in the current turmoil, or we can turn 90 degrees and face the future that we want to create. And so that is what Syntropic World and Syntropic Enterprise is all about. So what is a syntropic enterprise, you may well ask? Let me give you the high-end definition, and then I'll go into it in a little bit more detail. The word enterprise was chosen deliberately because it simply is an endeavor. And so any endeavor where humans come together is an enterprise, whether that is a community group, a not-for-profit, a global corporation, a partnership, whatever that is, that's an enterprise. It's a very broad term. Syntropic was coined by my mentor of over 30 years, Buckminster Fuller. And some of you may be familiar with the second law of thermodynamics, which is entropy. And that says, and science still believes this, that the world is in a degenerative state. And so the universe itself is degenerating. So Bucky Fuller presented, and he did this through mathematical modeling, that in actual fact, it's the opposite, that we are in a syntropic universe, or in other words, an eternally regenerative universe. Syntropic means towards a higher order for an eternally regenerative universe. And so in a very simple frame, a syntropic enterprise is any human endeavor that leaves everything better. But let me rewind the tape a little bit and sort of give you some background. So after 6 years of a medical science degree, in my mid-20s, I stepped into a conversation that was about how I could become wealthy and successful. One of those event seminars, as you do at that age. And accidentally and inadvertently, I was introduced to the work of Buckminster Fuller. And this literally changed the course of my life and my direction. So for those of you who are not familiar with Bucky, let me give you a little bit of a sort of a background, because he is my mentor. I'm an applied student of his work, have been. But Bucky Fuller in 1927, when the automobile was just a new thing, decided that we needed to consider the all-in accounting cost of a barrel of oil. So let me give you the reference for that, because this is quite transcendent to circular economy. The all-in accounting cost takes into consideration the cost for Earth to create fossil fuels over billions of years. It then takes into account what we know, which is humans finding it, extracting it, refining it, transporting it, using it, all of that stuff. And then it also takes into account the post-use cost. We currently talk about that as, you know, in parentheses, pollution, the carbon atmosphere, however you want to language it. And Bucky Fuller determined in 1927 that there wasn't a single human on the planet, including the Rockefellers, who were the wealth at the time, that could afford a single barrel of oil. And he said that eventually we would be paying the after tax for our lack of consideration of the all-in cost. Bucky was certainly a man ahead of his time. But his work, which was deeply inspired to understand the laws of universe, the way universe works and has worked for billions of years, and how to apply those laws to creating artifacts and tools that would progress the well-being of all humans without ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone. And so to do that, he challenged every single assumption, including that there is no such thing as a straight line. Of course, there isn't, including some of the things that we step over every single day, like a limited liability corporation. That, you know, if you're going to build an enterprise, there's only a basket of half a dozen things that we can potentially take from our legal coding and apply that to how we do enterprise within a sovereign nation system. And he challenged all of those assumptions. Why would you want to limit your liability? What is it that you're protecting? Asking those type of questions is crucial if we want a world with a future. So what Bucky did with all of his work was he applied the laws of universe to the built environment. So he was designing houses and cars and cities and landscapes and structures like the geodesic dome that supported the increased thrivability or well-being of humanity. What I've done through my life is taken those same principles, which is the principles of how universe works, principles such as the one you see behind me, precession, principles such as gravity. How do you apply gravity to business? You may well ask. Why don't we apply gravity to business? I've spent my life on how to apply these principles to enterprise design and human coordination. And it's just been one of the things that I've been naturally good at, which is convening people. Bringing people together around an idea that people care about. And I've done that for 30 years. I did that for 30 years. And all the time in my 30 years of experimentation, it would fall into a messy human heap. I'm sure all of you have had some taste of great people, fabulous ideas falling into a messy human heap. And so something about the design of the human architecture, the way we come together as people, was not actually allowing the best of humans to be able to show up around a purpose that people cared about. And so I've been applying the teachings predominantly of Bucky, but the laws of universe to how we do that. And there is a geometry to it and a structure to it, which is completely mapped back to the working laws of universe. In 2015, I convened a local event, so an event on the Gold Coast when we could actually meet face to face. And I convened a local event inspired by how do we bring the community of people together around for a day to really to co-create how we, the future of our city. And it was an incredible event and an amazing experience. But the two main artifacts that came out of that, which I'm going to touch on in just a moment, which were the procession of that event, the side effect of that event, is the ground and the formation of what has now become Syntropic World and Syntropic Enterprise. So what happened is a team of total strangers over the course of 6 months with no event experience co-created a world-class event without a single human upset, and entirely self-managed. And this was based on the application of what we call in Syntropic World, the Trust Manifesto, which was an enterprise architecture that, you know, as a result of 30 years of failing, that I designed with some support of a lot of people, including the work of Bucky. And we put that into the legal trust of Big Blue Sky, you know, because we had to change the model. So the Trust Manifesto is one of the two main sort of artifacts that fell out of that. And the other one, which I'm going to touch on today, because I want to give you a kind of a taste, you know, what do I mean by some of this stuff? The other one is the Synergistic Accounting. But before I go there, I just wanted to let people know that the purpose of Syntropic World, which is sort of the holding company behind Syntropic Enterprise, is to have Syntropic Enterprise become the way we do business. And so it is, rather than, and it is based on one of Bucky's quotes, which is one of my favorite quotes of all time, and you've probably heard of it. Rather than trying to change the old system, build new models that make the old system obsolete, or the existing system obsolete. And so our work at Syntropic World, we're not trying to rearrange a limited liability corporation. We're not trying to, you know, rejig or whatever else like that. We're actually starting with a clean sheet of paper and going, here's the future. The constructs that humans are working under right now, our monetary systems, our governance systems, our legal systems, our how we account for value, all of the constructs are human designed and have no correlation to the way the universe works. And so if we were going to do that from a clean sheet of paper, how do we do that? And how do we do that that enables, as the only thing that we're really looking at and measuring, is the increased well-being of Earth and all her creatures? And I'm committed, you know, that's an idealistic, visionary, kind of like off the charts quest, you could say. But personally, I believe that if we don't actually ask that question of how we do that, then I don't want to, you know, I'd rather just watch more Netflix and turn my life off. And so it's the quest that inspires us every single day. But it's a challenge because it means that we have to not step over anything. And to date, Syntropic World, which has just flourished, you know, it's just been an amazing year in the year of COVID. It's just flourished. We now have a community of practice in 16 countries around the world and growing. And just the most incredible people who are applying the principles that we teach in the Syntropic Masterclass to their enterprise. Working together, it's not a one size fits all. It's not, I have the formula, I know what to do. I don't in a lot of instances. It is a collective, a community that are applying these principles and learning from each other. And just extraordinary synergy is happening as a result of that. So I wanted to give you, and Megan, can you just, I'm sorry, because I didn't look at what time would you like me to finish?
You're all good. You'll be finishing at, I think you've still got another, yeah.
In about 5 minutes, yeah? Okay, so about 25 past the hour, yeah. Okay,
yeah, 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I wanted to give you just a little taste of one of the two key artifacts that came out of Big Blue Sky. And this is what we call synergistic accounting. So first of all, a couple of sort of references to this. When we work on a system that is a monopoly, that monopolizes how we account for value, then by nature, we're going to absolutely build in everything that we have: poverty, extraction to extinction, exploitation, colonization. Nature doesn't do monopoly. It just doesn't do monopoly. So a sovereign currency system is untenable to life on Earth, period. The question is then, what do we do and how do we do it? And the bolder question is, can we humans on the ground create enterprises that deploy these things and know that the game is long? We're looking at least 40 years or more. I'll probably be pushing daisies or whatever else by the time our work is done, if ever. A long game. Can we turn that around simply by deploying and building new models and having other people see, oh, what are they doing? How are you doing that? and having that be a multiplier effect. So a very grassroots, but at the same time, we also have lawyers who are just amazing people who are working in this space to help us get this transition encoded in law. So synergistic accounting. I'm giving you a very complex model. I'm giving it to you in, I'm just giving you the taste of it. So synergistic accounting increases the degree of freedom for an increased number of days forward for all of life. And it is based on Bucky's 12 degrees of freedom, Bucky Fuller's 12 degrees of freedom. In the shorthand, what it means is that money only ever has 1/6 of the power at any table. So if you're a traditional investor and you're going into a company and you're the bank, you've got the cash. The moment we give that person authority over everybody else, we diminish the value of everybody simultaneously, simply by design. So let me show you a very high level. And as I said, all of this is based on the 12 degrees of freedom. So in synergistic accounting, we consider value in 6 domains of input and 6 domains of output. And so when someone is engaged in a project, we ask them to complete, and there's lots of different ways that you do this, to complete a synergistic audit, which opens with the question, what do you have the capacity, you as a sovereign being, the capacity, willingness, and desire to bring to this project, this team, this enterprise, this undertaking, whatever it is, in these 6 domains, number 1. And number 2, for your bringing, what do you expect in return? In these 6 domains. Yep. And so what happens when people participate, and that is the threshold crossing exercise. Simply, and this, there's so much behind this and so many applications, but simply when people use this as a threshold crossing exercise, it says that if we're going to work together, here's what I have to bring in these domains. And for that, I expect this in return. And that surfaces at the immediate several things. Am I really committed to this game? Because I have to do some heavy lifting. Holy hell, this is hard. How do I name my value? I don't know what my value is. Or I'm terrified of asking, naming my value. And how do I ask for my value to be acknowledged in various forms? And to ask for that clearly. And I'm looking at the time. So by looking at these 6 areas, the positive and the negative charge of these 6 areas, we create communities of trust. We ensure that we never step over the value of Mary, who comes into work every day and asks you how your partner's going, because your partner is, she knows, no one else knows, she knows that because she cares, she knows that your partner is undergoing chemo and she cares about you. Where is that included in the value of how we create enterprise? So that's a very sort of short taste of one of the critical models. As I said, we have people community now in 16 countries. That's all happened this year. And our community actually deploys the synergistic accounting model. We make the masterclass extremely accessible to people. We never knock anyone back if they don't have the currency, but we make sure that they don't enter without contributing something and so on. So I don't know what I've got. I've got a dog trying to mess up my technology. Anyway, so there you go. That's a very short high-end piece, and thank you so much for attending. And thank you. She's seriously trying to mess up my technology. And thank you. Don't you love nature? Thank you, Megan, for having me, and thank you for the amazing work that the New Economy Network does.
Thank you, Christine. That was wonderful. I think your dog just wanted to be part of the action, you know, felt it had something to add, wanted to contribute to what you were doing and join the organization. That was truly wonderful. Like, you know, as you say, it was short, but obviously a concept and, you know, a practical application that's been deeply thought through. And there's so much that relates to a lot else that's kind of happened across the conference. And I think of this evening, there's going to be a skills inventory and offers and needs market. And looking at the diagram you have behind you, I know there's some nice synergy there as well, because I think the facilitators will be asking you to think about these questions of what you have to offer and think through that. Christine, I'm going to be getting in touch with you because I've been working in the policy and regulation space to think about what could regulation look like if we change the Corporations Act or similar to actually require a syntropic enterprise. So look out for an email from me. Thank you so much. Yeah, go for it.
The Syntropic enterprise, the word is in the Creative Commons. I forgot to say that. So anyone can use it. I can't own it. You can't own it. It's there for everybody. Yeah.
Even better. Even better. Thank you.